2025 is your year to finally have literacy centers that don't just work, they thrive. If you've struggled with engagement, prep time, or keeping kids on task, this video is for you. Stick with me until the end because I have a one-stop shop solution that's going to help you thrive in your literacy centers in the new year. Hi, I'm Molly, and I'm a 5th grade teacher who's also taught kindergarten and 1st grade, and I help teachers use the Daily 5 in a way that's sustainable, manageable, and doesn't add more onto your plate. And in today's video, we're going to dive into managing these literacy centers and figuring out what's going to work best for you in the new year so you can start fresh. Let's start off by addressing the elephant in the room on why most literacy centers fail. Now, I've had some of these issues myself, so don't take them personally and just look at it as a way to improve so that you can have a smooth sailing ship this year and really glide into the new year knowing exactly what you're going to do and getting the most amazing reviews from your principal because they love watching you teach literacy. The first problem is centers that are just too hard to manage. A lot of time teachers think that they have to swap things out so regularly that the centers become unmanageable because the kids actually don't know what they're doing. You preview it a little bit, but they change so rapidly that they are often left not knowing what to do, and then that creates more of a problem with behaviors and kids being off task. So this is your invitation to not swap them out. I think word work definitely gets swapped out on a weekly basis because they're often doing a new pattern that relates to the whole group and their small group as well. So that makes sense, but the routine is going to be the same. So they might be getting a new pattern, but the actual system that they're doing is going to stay the same. Another mistake that teachers make is activities that aren't actually engaging their students' needs. Now, I mostly get nice comments about Daily 5 and how it's worked effectively for fellow teachers. Occasionally, though, I do get somebody that says Daily 5 doesn't work, it's just busy work for kids. And that's always a red flag to me. I can tell right away that that person didn't do Daily 5 the way that I do and the way that the book sets you up for success. I usually ask them a question back to which they never answer. So that's enough right there. No shade at those people. It's not a system that they liked and they didn't give it a fair shake, in my honest opinion. However, there are ways to tie in what you're doing in the whole group. I have a Daily 5 video on that, and I talk in great deal inside of my Daily 5 workshop that I always host over the summer. And the waitlist will be coming out in the spring for that, so you can join us there. And I show examples from my own classroom on how to do that. So if you're struggling with engaging activities, one thing you can always do is go back to the whole group lesson and see what the independent practice part of that was. And that's another way your students can have more practice working on the skills that you really need them to hone in on and master before you can move on to the next thing. I know it's frustrating when your students are off task and you feel like your activities aren't hitting, and that's just part of being a teacher, is experimenting and figuring out what works. And I promise you, once you get a really great system going for Daily 5, that frustration will slowly start to fade away and it will quickly become one of your favorite parts of the day. Let's jump into the foundations of literacy centers that are really going to help you build that practice with your students and know that you are doing a solid job teaching literacy. The first thing I recommend, every center should be reinforcing a skill. Like I mentioned before, word study is a great example. Let's say we're in 1st grade and we're learning digraphs. Inside of our word work lesson, we're going to talk about, let's say we're doing CH, SH, we're doing that in class together, we're practicing, and then independent practice during Daily 5, that word workstation would be reinforcing that skill. And they, of course, can come to your small group and ask more questions. You might even be doing that skill again during small group before you're reading. And so that's just another way to reinforce those skills. And every literacy station inside of Daily 5 should serve a purpose. It should never be busy work. Another way to make it easier on yourself, though, is having simplicity among your stations. I do not recommend, like I mentioned before, switching things out so much that it's constantly a chore. I've heard, especially in the primary grades when I was a kindergarten and 1st grade teacher, that becomes really exhausting. And just remember, I love this quote, repetition is the mother of skill. And when we get really good at something, it's because we've done it a lot of times. And so keeping the systems and processes the same but changing out the word work pattern, that's exactly what you should be doing. Or let's say you're doing a handwriting letter. Well, we've learned the new handwriting letter for the day, and we're just going to swap out the worksheet while they're doing that independently, but they've learned it together in whole group. Daily 5 also builds consistency for your students. It's going to be great for you, but also great for them because they know what to expect every single time you set down to do Daily 5. They're going to be excited to come to book club with you. They're going to get all of their work done. And I don't think you're going to have any issues with kids that don't love consistency. In fact, many of our students come to school just for that consistency and they don't have it in their home life. And I made a video recently about substitutes using Daily 5 and what that can look like for you in your classroom, and how that level of consistency while there's a sub is so key to having a smooth day. And your sub will often mention that Daily 5 was their favorite part of the day too. Another way to make Daily 5 more manageable for you in this coming year is make your groups flexible, but also make them work for you. I know there's lots of different theories out there on how you can create groups, and you might have to follow a plan that your district outlines. You know, if you watch any of my videos, I'm never going to tell you how to teach. I'm just going to show you some best practices and how you can implement the Daily 5 as a management tool inside of your classroom. But one of the things I love about Daily 5 is that it is flexible. It offers the consistency, yes, but it's flexible. So let's say I've got a book club that I've been pulling for an entire month and it's just not working. Maybe there's 1 or 2 kids in there that it's not effective for them and I need to shuffle things around. That's a great time to reevaluate and just shuffle up the book clubs. It's very flexible in that way, and your students won't really read into that at all. They just will know that they're getting to switch book clubs, and a lot of times they really like that. Another reason that Daily 5 is a literacy plan that's really going to work for you and creating an effective system is that most of the activities are extremely hands-on. And I don't know about you, but in my elementary classroom, when my students are doing hands-on things, they are far more productive and able to get their work done, especially when it is hands-on. For example, if they are doing word work and it's some kind of a build words activity, they're moving pieces around and then they have to either maybe take a picture of their work on their iPad or they have something to turn in. That's the accountability piece that makes all of that effective. And I think that's another piece for you that you'll have to find a system for in your classroom, where you're not grading a million things, but also your students know that if they're not getting their work done during Daily 5, there will be a consequence for that, because you're not able to effectively pull your reading groups if you're always having to kind of police every station. But that's where you did the setup at the beginning of the year. You built stamina and you fixed all of those problems early on so that you had perfect practice towards the end where kids were just really getting it and everybody was working harmoniously so that you could pull those groups. And we know as teachers, that's where we really make the biggest dent. A whole group lesson, giving that tier 1 instruction to everybody is fantastic. We have to do that. But those small group times and intervention times and enrichment group polling situations are hands down part of my favorite part of teaching, and where we really make the most dent and we get to know our students so much more deeply, especially when we have kids that are shy and don't want to participate in a whole group setting, but they're more likely to talk to you in that small book club. Another way to make literacy centers using the Daily 5 more manageable for you is just having those repeatable methods. For example, I've talked a little bit about handwriting. If you're learning a new letter, you could have those sheets available and every day you're doing a new one. You could have animal facts handwriting. My students love those. And everything I talk about is a solution for you down below in the description box. You can have access to everything I'm talking about. And those are things that aren't going to take you forever to prep, but everybody's getting the same instruction and they need the practice. If you have older students, they could be working on those cursive writing letters, so it doesn't just have to be print. Now, for work on writing, something else that provides so much consistency inside of your literacy centers is going to be having a writing prompt. I've talked about this a lot before. Work on writing during Daily 5 is not your writing instruction time, it's creative writing time, and it's a great way to foster the bridge between I hate writing to wow, I wrote that. And you can really get there during Daily 5 because there's no pressure. They're not going to be evaluated on that writing. And I love to incorporate fun writing prompts for my students so they have choice and they can decide, do I want to use that writing prompt? Do I want to make up one different? It might give them a story idea. Regardless, you'll love reading their work on writing pages or their journals, however you like to do it. You can either print the pages from the journal prompts that I use, or you can use a notebook and go through them every week and just give them feedback, put a sticker on their page, let them know that you've loved looking at their writing. And that is something that literacy centers always fail if you don't have work on writing completely planned out. It's so many working pieces that go into Daily 5 or literacy centers in general, but once you have a system and structure, like I've said so many times in this video, it will become something that just becomes totally automatic. Your students will know what to do. You'll be in such a good groove, and you can really start this at any time of the year. This video is coming out before the new year, so if you're on winter break as a teacher, you could get this all figured out right now. And remember, all of the resources I mentioned are down in the description box below. I have so many YouTube videos here about Daily 5. There's a playlist for almost anything you can think of. If you have any questions though, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you're going to be doing for the new year and revamping your literacy block, or if you already are doing the Daily 5 and what's going well for you, let me know below. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I can't wait to see how your literacy block changes in the coming new year.